Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. We're going to start off with the current surface map as of 9 a.m. And as you can see, high pressure pretty much is in control throughout the entire Northern Mid-Atlantic. Skies are clear. Temperatures are a bit cold, with the temperatures basically in the mid to upper 30s as of 9 a.m. And lower 30s were experienced earlier on this morning. So clearly we are dealing with a cold air mass. And actually the dominant high pressure system we're going to be dealing with over the next several days is actually the one that's located over Ontario. That high pressure system is going to be a major player in just how fast the warm front that is currently developing over the Mississippi River Valley moves north. So let's take a look at the water vapor first and see what type of pattern we're dealing with. As you can see on the water vapor, we're dealing with a very active pattern. You can see plenty of moisture moving out of the southwest, moving through the plains and heading right towards the northern Atlantic. Of course, there is dry air over the southeast, and that's associated with our ridge that is pretty much well supported over the southeast. This is typical of a weak La Nina pattern. So what we have here are several disturbances on the way, and a pattern that is very progressive, which means no major storms, periods of showers in and out, and also temperatures fluctuating between normal, slightly above normal, then back to below normal. So we're dealing with a very variable weather pattern. How long is this going to continue? Well, I have some good news in just a few minutes. However, before we get to the good news, we're going to have to deal with some volatile weather conditions over the next several days. Now, there's one disturbance over the northern Ohio Valley that will track towards the northern Mid-Atlantic tonight, produce a few isolated to widely scattered showers. The biggest impact is going to be the increase in cloud cover. I really don't expect much in the way of rainfall from this disturbance. However, if you are going to, let's say, the Yankee game tonight or the Phillies-Met game in Philadelphia, keep an eye out for a few scattered showers, especially towards the end of the game. For the most part, these showers will be weak, but a few of them could produce some heavy downpours. Now, what I have here is the NAM model guidance for Friday afternoon. This low pressure system over the Ohio Valley is going to track due east. Now, the important feature here is not the low pressure system, it's actually the high pressure system off the New England coast. Because this high pressure system is not only going to suppress the low pressure to the south, it's also going to suppress much of the precipitation. So on Friday afternoon, I'm looking for periods of moderate to possibly even some heavy rain over the Philadelphia metropolitan area. However, for the New York City metropolitan area, a lot of this rain is going to be suppressed to the south because of the influence of the high pressure system. And as a result, if you're going to the Mets home opener, for example, on Friday afternoon, most likely you're going to have dry conditions. I can't rule out a few scattered showers during the game, but there will not be any steady rainfall because this low pressure is going to be suppressed to the south. Once this low pressure system exits, well, then the great weather conditions start to set in. Now, the low pressure system on Friday is basically a signal that the whole pattern is starting to shift north. Think of this low pressure passage like a giant warm front. As you can see, this is the European model guidance for Sunday afternoon, and you can see high pressure system sitting off of the east coast, and we have a southwesterly flow, and that's really important because basically what we have setting up here is the storm track. Let's say that low pressure system over Kansas. Well, that low pressure system is going to track towards Ontario, well north and west of the northern Mid-Atlantic. And that's really important because that means that we stay on the warm side of the storm track and generally on the dry side. Now, there's still going to be a risk of a few scattered showers on Saturday as these disturbances shift north, but on Sunday it's going to be absolutely beautiful with clear skies and warm temperatures. How warm? Well, let's take a look at 850 millibars. At the mid-levels, you can clearly see temperatures are above 10 degrees Celsius. That's that orange line that's cutting up through New England. What that basically means is that temperatures are going to be pretty warm at the surface, because when you take this type of warm air at the mid-levels and bring it down to the surface, you end up with high temperatures in the 70s, which I'm sure everyone is very happy to hear about. So what I'm expecting is that on Saturday we'll be in this transition period where temperatures will be in the upper 50s, over the northern tier, locations like Connecticut, the Hudson River Valley, northeastern Pennsylvania. However, as you move south towards the New York City and Philadelphia metropolitan area, look for temperatures more in the 60s. But then on Sunday, with the warm air fully transported into the region, temperatures are going to skyrocket into the 60s over the northern tier and lower to mid 70s over portions of southwestern New Jersey and the Philadelphia metropolitan area. So as you can see, we are going to be moving into a much warmer weather pattern, and I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy this new weather pattern going on all the way through next week. Now, even though we move into a much warmer weather pattern, there will still be a risk of a few scattered showers here and there each day. And the reason why is because of these disturbances. See this red area that's over the East Coast, and we have another one over the Southwest, and another one over the Northern Plains. These disturbances are associated with a progressive pattern. They're generally weak, they move pretty quickly, but they still will be able to touch off a few showers here and there. So as we move into Tuesday morning, at the surface you can see we have an area of low pressure, but it's very weak and it's not going to be able to draw a lot of moisture. So at most you get a few passing showers and then the sun breaks out again. So I would trade in a few morning showers for temperatures in the 70s in the afternoon and clear skies, but that's just me. So overall, this pattern really isn't all that bad. Actually, it's really nice for early to mid-April for this time of year. But you can also see there are a few other low pressure systems to the west that will track to the east and produce a few scattered showers here and there each day throughout next week. But again, we're going to be remaining relatively warm. In fact, the pattern through next week, and this is for Friday afternoon, remains very zonal. What that basically means is that the upper level winds move from west to east. Notice there's no large storms, we have no blocking in the Atlantic, our polar vortex is well up in Canada, and we have an upper level low sitting off of the west coast, which is just going to keep on pumping Pacific disturbances throughout the country. So again, we remain in a zonal warm pattern, and even more impressively at 850 millibars, you can see all of our cold air is locked up in Canada in this type of zonal flow because the cold air cannot move south, it moves west to east. So as a result, we basically remain near to slightly above normal throughout much of next week and into the middle of April. Now later on in the month, this might change just a bit because again, we're dealing with a pattern that doesn't allow long-term warm or cold phases. It's constantly changing because of all these disturbances moving in. So one week we might be in the 70s and the next week we might be in the 50s. It really depends on exactly where the thermal gradient sets up each week. But it looks like for this weekend into next week, that thermal gradient will be on the warm side for the northern mid-Atlantic. And finally at the surface, the type of weather conditions we can expect will be dependent on the location of the high pressure system. Now this is the way it's going to work out. When a cold front moves through, the high pressure system will be centered over, let's say, Quebec or Ontario or the eastern Great Lakes, in which the northern mid-Atlantic will be relatively cool. However, as high pressures do, they will move southeast, and as a result, our winds will shift to the southwest, and then we warm up ahead of another cold front. So that's basically how this pattern is going to work out. No major storms, but the weather conditions will, let's say, just remain volatile as temperatures swing back and forth to slightly below normal in the 50s to above normal in the 70s. So keep a jacket handy and don't get too used to temperatures in the upper 70s when they do occur. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather as your weather source for the northern mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent day.